Let's get into financial literacy now and how you can help your child manage their money this summer. CEO and founder of Clear Academy Incorporated, Kendra Denmark, joins us now with important advice. Let's get into your work and why it's important to teach children about all things money. What's your perspective on this?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm the founder and CEO of Clear Academy Incorporated. It's a nonprofit organization that teaches youth and young adults about financial literacy education. It is so important to start extremely early so that we can give our youth an opportunity to really dream and live out their creative lives.
This is an area that as parents, we're not always experts on. So if this is an area that's not comfortable for the parent, what resources are available for them out there?
So there are tons of resources, and I'm really glad that you asked that. So a lot of times our kids are really engaged heavily with social media, technology, and gamifying things. There are several resources online of individuals that are really making the content of financial literacy digestible to youth. So a simple search on Google about youth financial literacy skills would lead you into the right direction. Our organization, clearacademy.org, will provide information from ages 13 to 26, and we really make that information very digestible, relatable, fun, and engaging. So that way students don't feel like it's an additional task that is daunting, but we really make learning about money fun.
Being a parent can seem overwhelming at times, and you can't do it all. So in terms of priorities, why is financial literacy something that parents need to prioritize?
Absolutely. I can definitely remember growing up, not money management was definitely a taboo topic, something that we never really discussed. And so it's so important to not continue to pass that on. So being able to start normalizing those conversations as soon as possible would allow your youth to have a better opportunity to live the life that they would really want to live without any financial restraints. I would definitely say just start to lead by example and continue to commit to being a lifelong learner about money management, having those conversations, normalizing those conversations, and allowing students to really participate and engage with the day-to-day tasks, such as maybe going grocery shopping and things of that nature. Just make it real, make it fun, and try to normalize it as much as possible.
You bring up a good point. These conversations in the past have been taboo. Why is that?
I don't know. I believe sometimes it's like a lack of transparency, sometimes financial shame, just not really knowing ourselves as parents, feeling like we're just winging it. So, how can we teach someone else to do it better? Because we ourselves are still learning. So, I believe that there is a sense of shame around talking about those topics, maybe because our parents never talked about it. That's why it's so crucial to introduce that to our youth as soon as possible so that it is a normal conversation. Because a lot of times, what happens, you end up repeating the same mistakes that your parents made when simply that could have been resolved by a conversation like, hey, what would you have done differently? And how can that assist me moving forward facing a similar situation?
One of the things that we discuss a lot here at BNC is how to build generational wealth. And a lot of us didn't grow up learning those techniques. So explain, why is learning to build generational wealth so important, and how do you go about it?
Yeah. So generational wealth has definitely been a huge buzzword, right? And I believe it's so important more now than ever because of the times that we are facing. It's so important to go ahead and start right now. One of the key things that I would suggest for parents with their kids now, thinking about like 529 plans. If you know that you have a youth that's been talking about going to college, let's start doing some research. Let's start looking into some of those accounts. There are even other accounts like an UPMA account. It's similar to a 529 plan, but it's usually with a little bit more freedom. This helps you build that generational wealth. I think parents think that you have to have an abundance of money, an abundance of resources, but honestly, you only need one resource that you stick to and practice and execute. That way, the generational wealth doesn't just happen with one generation, it continues to pass down to others as well.
And is it ever too late to start?
It is never too late to start, and it is never too early to start. But the earlier, the better. But just get started right away.
What's the most important advice that you can give to parents today as they approach the topic of financial literacy with their children?
You definitely just have to make it fun and don't really assume that they don't want to learn. Like kids want to learn. Make it fun, make it real, but don't make it like a daunting task for them. Allow them to practice so that way it doesn't feel as taboo. It doesn't feel like another burden. It doesn't feel like another task that they have to check off. Um, Even if you don't feel like you can have the conversation with them, allow them to practice. Like, hey, give them an opportunity to maybe call up one of your vendors. Like, if you're paying an electricity bill or water bill, give them an opportunity to really start engaging with vendors so that way paying bills is something that's normal and that once it's time for them to do that, it's already a task that they have accomplished and it boosts their confidence because they're like, oh, you all aren't doing that. My mom used to make me do that all the time. So it's something that's normal. So if you can't feel the need or don't feel confident talking to them, just get them to do regular tasks that you already do.
Kendra Denmark, founder and CEO of Clear Academy, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today.
Absolutely. No problem. Thank you all for having me.